Hytale news is flying out left and right as we get closer to release. We've got a crazy new cinematic, loads of Hytale mods, new screenshots, and major updates from Simon. I'm going to cover recent news first and then get into exactly what I mean by a development ecosystem. Most importantly, let's start with this cinematic trailer. Again, there is a warning that everything you see here is a work in progress and that this was made several years ago using Machinima tools within Hytale that we won't have full access to during the early access release. I'm going to let the cinematic play out. This is absolute cinema. When Simon teased the Machinima tools showcase, I had expected a short clip of a dev using them, but no. The Hytale team had to do what they do best and blow our minds. This cinematic trailer is truly insane and not what any of us expected at all. From the way the characters are animated to the bold sound effects, this trailer truly gives us a showing of what's possible within Hytale. I can already see the community making full-on films and fantasy series with these tools. In case you missed the recent news, we have got Hytale mods confirmed for day one. The team partnered with CurseForge and gave some mod authors early access to start testing things out and provide some basic mods for players to test on day one. And now Simon has given the go-ahead for these Hytale modders to share what they've made. One example is this smart little miner's helmet. It adds 8 different helmets that each give off a different light colour, meaning you're never going to have to hold a torch again. That's a very cool idea. And another example is this spin on the classic fortune enchantment in Minecraft. Instead, here, when an ore is mined, it has the chance of respawning the block. This is super cool we are even getting any on day one, and I know I'm going to be testing these out. I found this thread on X by Zeusly, which contains most of the revealed Hytale mods so far. We see more mods including music, fishing, advanced item info, a nearby inventory browser, and even our first look at what could be Skyblock within Hytale. We also have a short clip from YouTuber 30virus who recreated Minecraft Bed Wars within Hytale. Just listen to Hytale's crisp and immersive sound effects. There are so many more out there, and shout out to Zeusly for making our lives easier. I'll leave a link below in the comments. The mod authors describe how they found modding in Hytale intuitive to learn, and that all the systems are very modular, making it very powerful. One specifically mentions how the live reloading makes prototyping mods super fast, and that creating new blocks and items only takes a few seconds. It hasn't just been modders making cool stuff in Hytale, it has actually been the Hytale developers themselves. Simon states that they gave the team time to rest during the holidays and then came back with mods and maps. They are all addicted to working on Hytale. The first is a short clip by developer Think of Name, who made a Hytale factory mod in his free time. This features an inserter and factory storage. This is crazy as we basically have Factorio within Hytale already. It doesn't stop there though, as one of Hytale's level designers created a full gothic castle build. I'ma let this one play out. Okay, the build is cool, but we get to see the Ice Dragon again. It's been ages since we last saw it, and I'm glad it's still in the game. And another cool build made by a team member is Cybertale. Yes, this is cyberpunk within Hytale. Set in a futuristic world with huge tall skyscrapers and neon lights, it's just amazing that this is already possible with Hytale, even at early access. On top of this, Simon confirms that after launch they will be adding an in-game mod browser, so you can easily download or share your mods and players can install them with a single click. If you host a mod, people will automatically install it when they join you. Simon uses the example that, say you installed a mod that adds over 6 zones and 100 biomes, your friend can join your world and see the same world within a few moments, leaving you ready to explore. Simon says how they see the player experience as essential for mods to truly shine. This is going to be super nice, as I know modding can be a bit of a pain in most other games with external platforms and all the effort that can come with that. Additionally, he shares that Hytale will have some basic world settings on day 1, which also will include what mods you're using. We also get brand new screenshots from the Hytale account for the countdown to launch week. For day 7 we get to see a bioluminescent T-Rex and a Triceratops. For day 6, potion lobbing skeleton that seems to contain some sort of glowing poison. And for day 4, we get a mystical screenshot of a magical sanctuary with a deer. These are all super interesting and are really building the hype for the release of Hytale. Simon also felt it was necessary to post a friendly reminder about the state of the game and how it is very much still early access because the game was only bought over 7 weeks ago, which is insane. He just wants to make new followers aware of the issues the game will have on launch, as the interest in Hytale has grown exponentially and the team received far more pre-purchases than they expected. And to catch all these bugs that we will encounter, Simon has revealed a new feature they added that allows you to report live bugs and give feedback directly within the game. Damn, I think I've rewritten this script about 20 times with the amount of Hytale news that is coming out every single day. If you want more information on Hytale's release, you can check out my previous videos. Let's get back to the topic of the video. Hytale is entering early access in just a couple of days, and a lot of people are going to judge it the same way they judge every other game. Is there enough content? Is it polished? But that way of looking at Hytale completely misses what it's actually trying to be. Because if you pay attention to how the game is designed, what tools exist, and how the developers talk about it, Hytale starts to look less like a traditional sandbox game and more like a development ecosystem. And once you see that, a lot of their decisions, including early access and day 1 mods, makes much more sense. When I talk about a development ecosystem, I mean a setup where the game, the tools, the servers, and the community are all designed to work together as one system that can grow and evolve over time. It's about creating a framework that other people can use to build experiences that developers themselves never planned. For example, think of Minecraft servers or Roblox mini-games that exist. Skywars, Bed Wars, Prison Escape. These are all great games within a bigger game that the developers never planned for. This creative power is at the core of Hytale's design, and that philosophy shows up again and again in their blog posts, especially whenever the team talks about modding or why certain features are prioritized over others. Those day 1 mods covered at the start of the video are just a glimpse into what's possible. A few days ago, Simon released a video showcasing a server-side Hytale mod created by another team member in their spare time. It's intended purely as inspiration for how other genres could be realized within Hytale. The gameplay shown represents only a small subset of the modding capabilities that was used to build a simple survivor-like experience. This is not an official mod, but it's crazy that this kind of complete genre change is even possible this early in development. The clip shows a completely new camera angle, time dilation, custom UI, and more. Developers in early access who know what they're doing are going to produce things we didn't even think were possible. This gets me very excited and brings me on to my next point. The clearest sign that Hytale is built as an ecosystem is its server-first architecture. As mentioned when covering day 1 mods, players will be able to join others' modded worlds without leaving the platform. So even when you're playing alone, the game is still running as a local server. That decision quietly shapes almost every system in the game. Everything is built with the assumption that it needs to work the same way whether one player is present or hundreds. That consistency is what allows systems to scale naturally for all players in the world. This same thinking explains why the team has been so deliberate about maintaining one shared client. In technical interviews and blog posts, they've talked about wanting to avoid fragmenting the community across multiple incompatible versions, something that became a real pain point in Minecraft as mods, servers, and client versions drifted apart over time. By keeping the client consistent and pushing complexity to the server side, Hytale creates a much more predictable environment for creators. If you build something on one server, you can reasonably expect it to behave the same way elsewhere. Over the long term, that reliability is crucial. It lowers the barrier to collaboration, makes sharing content easier, and gives creators confidence that their work won't break the moment it leaves their own world. The good news is that the Hytale team are committed to modding for the long term. They believe modders like us have been looking for a project that doesn't just tolerate them, but actively embraces and supports them. Coming from creating the huge Minecraft server, Hypixel, the team know how important this is, and they literally were in the same position as us several years ago, eager to mod and develop on top of an awesome game. They know from experience what we want and what tools we need to achieve this. This server-first thinking feeds directly into how creation works in Hytale. Creation in Hytale is split into layers, each responsible for a different part of the experience. Some changes are purely data-driven, things like values, behaviors, or definitions that can be tweaked without touching code. Other parts live on the server side, where systems and rules are handled in a way that stays consistent across worlds and players. Visual content like models, animations, and sounds sits in its own space, and structures or prefabs can be saved, reused, and shared independently of everything else. The benefit of this approach shows up when you actually start building things. If you want to adjust how an enemy behaves, you're not forced to rebuild the entire system that the enemy belongs to or dive through thousands of lines of code. And why everything from art to logic is modular and designed with modding in mind. This kind of setup encourages new developers and iteration, and creators can build on top of existing systems, refine them or extend them instead of needing to start something from scratch. From the start, the team has been clear that creation isn't a side activity in Hytale. It's a core part of how the game exists. One of the most telling details is that the developers themselves built Hytale using the same tools they plan to give to players. When tools are only made for players, they tend to feel limited or bolted on, but when the development team relies on those tools internally, they have to be flexible, powerful, and stable enough to support real production work. That's the mindset behind Hytale's systems and tools. You can see this in the range of creative tools Hytale provides. The building tools are designed for working at scale, allowing creators to shape terrain, structures, and environment far more efficiently than just manual block placement. This same philosophy applies to art creation. By officially supporting tools like Blockbench for models and animations, the team is meeting creators where they already are. Rather than forcing them into proprietary pipelines, it lowers the barrier to entry without lowering the ceiling of what's possible. What matters most here is how all of these tools fit together. Hytale isn't expecting creators to stitch together a messy chain of external software just to get started. The assumption is that meaningful creation happens inside the game's ecosystem, with tools that talk to each other and evolve together. That's also why the modding blog posts read the way they do. They're not polished marketing announcements, they're closer to internal progress reports, and the developers openly acknowledge where tools are unfinished, inconsistent, or still being stabilized. That level of transparency only really makes sense if creators are viewed as long-term partners. It suggests that the team expects the people to grow alongside the tools, provide feedback, and help shape how the ecosystem matures over time. An ecosystem like this only survives if the people contributing can afford to stay. The Hytale team understands this better than most, largely because of their experience running the Hypixel server as a long-term community with staff, infrastructure, and real operational costs. That experience clearly informs how they think about creators in Hytale. The team has been careful not to lock themselves into too many specifics too early on, and that's important as monetization systems are deeply tied how to communities behave, and those behaviors only really emerge once people start building at scale. What has been made clear though is the underlying intent. Creators and server owners are expected to be long-term participants in the ecosystem, and Simon has confirmed that Hytale will take 0% from modders and server owners for at least the first 2 years, which is generous. In that sense, monetization should provide stability to the ecosystem. Once you start viewing Hytale as an ecosystem rather than just another Minecraft, early access stops looking like a compromise and starts looking like a smart decision. Systems like this work best when designed alongside the community. People always end up using systems in ways you didn't anticipate or expect, and this constant feedback loop a close community can provide is invaluable to the Hytale team. The developers have been unusually open about this. In multiple posts, they've outright said the game will be unfinished, buggy, and missing content at launch, not as a disclaimer, but as an expectation. That honesty lines up with the way ecosystems are actually built, through exposure, iteration, and real-world use. Early access is about letting the systems breathe. It's about watching how tools are used and really just getting it into the hands of the players who have been patiently and passionately waiting for over 7 years. That process is inherently messy. Things will break, some systems won't scale the way they were hoped to, certain features will need to be rethought entirely, but that friction is also where the most useful information comes from. By opening the doors early, Hytale is effectively choosing feedback over perfection. It's accepting short-term roughness in exchange for a much stronger foundation in the long run. And for a project that's trying to support creators, servers, and communities over many years, that trade-off makes sense. In the long term, if this ecosystem can hold together, then Hytale will become a massive success. Because creators won't just show up at launch, they'll stay. They'll iterate, refine, and slowly build things that outgrow the original scope. Because servers turn into long-running communities with their own identities and histories, over time the tools themselves will improve. Features will be shaped by what creators actually need. Some systems will quietly evolve, others will be rethought entirely, and that process will be driven by how the ecosystem behaves. There'll be crazy things that happen over Hytale's lifetime. A server that becomes its own genre, a mod that defines how people play for years, a community-built experience that outlives multiple official updates and more. The developers aren't trying to predict all of that in advance, and that's the point. Their role is to build a foundation strong enough to support all the things they can't foresee. That's the long-term bet Hytale is making, not that they can release the perfect game up front, but that they can create a space where other people build something lasting on top of it. We know Hytale will not be perfect on day one, but I think the more important question is whether the ecosystem they're building is strong enough to grow over time. That's what I'll be paying attention to as we enter early access. I have been Ember, and thank you for watching.